hear your voice.
Sorry. It should
Sorry.
flash on your screen. There we go. And you're live.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight's the January was the 17th meeting, and the way the internet was going, so we moved it to January 24th tonight. So I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I would like approval of the agenda for the January 24th meeting. Moved by Wenda, second by Debbie. Any questions on the comments on the agenda? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. The motion is carried. Any conflicts of pecuniary interest of the general nature thereof? Showing none. I'd like the approval of the minutes of January 3rd, 2022 Stone Mills regular council meeting. Moved by Doug, second by Sherry. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Delegation, deputation, bylaw and resolutions, a reappeal of the tile drainage loan act. And everybody seen that, or anyone want to talk on that? If not, I'm looking first, second, third reading. Moved by John, second by Doug. All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Staff reports. Manager of Deputy or Development Service Sands, Camden East Parkette public input. Anybody want to come on screen about that? There you are, Jason.
Thank you, Reeve. Just quickly, the staff report, I believe, overviews all information applicable to the parkette that's proposed in Camden East in the corner of County Road 4 and County Road 1. If you'll recall, there was a public consultation session or strategy that was released for a month period to seek comment on proposal 2 that came forward to council in the late fall. There were 6 comments received from the public, all of which, in my opinion, were positive, and they're all summarized in the exhibit attached to the report. Also within that exhibit, staff have identified the action items as to how they may or may not be addressed, and the most notable being the relocation of the electricity pole on the corner. There's quite a substantial fee to do so. Staff are recommending that it be left the way it currently sits, and the hope that maybe the county relocates the pole during its reworkings of the intersection of 1 and 4 in their upcoming capital works. I don't have confirmation that will be completed, but I just wanted to put that out there for your consideration and knowledge. So with this commentary received, staff has recommended to council that concept 2 be endorsed and that the comments within be implemented as identified in this report. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Jason? Go ahead, Debbie.
Jason, do we see a completion date for this project?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Thompson. I believe it's still the intent of staff to have it completed in-house by our public works staff, and weather permitting, we're hoping to commence that in the spring with completion done, I believe, and manager of public works can confirm this summer for use.
Can you update the progress of the postal situation?
Yes, through you, Reeve Smith. Canada Post has been working directly with a private property owner in Camden East about establishing its location and presence back in the village. That's been done in the absence of staff's involvement. Both the county staff and the township staff have provided confirmation that we have no objections to the proposal and that there's no requirement for site plan control based on the zoning and the use of an internal retrofit of that existing building. I do not have confirmation at this time that the lease agreement has been signed, but that was the last communication that I was aware of as staff, in that they were working towards with Canada Post and finalizing the floor plan drawings as to how that interior modification might change to accommodate the post office.
Thank you.
Jerry, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was
go
just
ahead.
going to make a motion to accept the recommendation for the parking.
Okay, thank you. Second by Doug. Any more questions, comments? All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thanks, Jason. Manager Finance, Christina Brusha, the Stone Mills accounts payable December 2021.
Yep. So I don't have anything of note. They're pretty standard invoices, and hopefully they're close to our last ones for the year, but that would be it right now.
Okay. Any questions for Christina? Looking forward for a motion to accept the report. Moved by Debbie, second by Kevin. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Public Works, okay, Chief Building Official Detler, tree planting proposal for Doyle Road property.
Thank you.
We lost you, Jake.
Disappeared off the screen.
You got him in touch there, Christina?
I don't, he's just coming back in here.
Your worship,
Okay.
maybe we could move on to the next report until which time he's back in. Is that okay?
Oh, there he is.
Okay. Okay, Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank
No
you, Your
problem.
Worship. Yeah, so I've been something I just kind of been working on the last few weeks. This is something that I've been thinking about for a few years, actually, the direction of what we wanted to do with this property. Company has been sending me emails and I've been chatting with them, and it kind of spurred my interest in possibly, you know, this is a vision for that property going forward. Some of it in terms of the financial values in the future, I think might be a little bit rainbows and unicorns. It's something that could be valuable in the future, and it could be maybe not so valuable in the future. It really depends on the state of that green economy and how it's going to play out over the next 20 years, really. Yeah, and this is just kind of a vision to plant a whole bunch of trees in the fields kind of surrounding the farm. There's kind of small fields to the south and east, and I guess it was to be the northeast of the farm and the house. I should add that the lease that we had with the tenant farmer for 5 years expired in January 1st, and that's just one other factor in this whole discussion.
Okay, anybody got any questions for Jake? Go ahead, Kevin, and then I'll go to Wenda.
Yeah, Jake, a couple questions actually. The one is, I'm wondering if we could get a map of something just to show us where you might plant and not plant trees. I think it's a great idea to plant the trees, but I'm wondering, could we not, put something out? Like I went and planted trees with my son when he was in Scouts, and I'm wondering if we can't have somebody do something like that with school grades or something to do it, or does it have to be by a certain group to benefit this cost factor? Yeah, that's some of the questions I had.
Yep, through you, Councillor Richmond. One of the things that I should add is that we planted approximately, I believe, 20 acres of trees, or maybe 15 acres of trees in the Moscow landfill site 2 years ago. Steve Pitt did that planting through Forests Ontario and 50 million trees and that sort of Ontario programming. I reached out to Steve kind of when I was talking to this other company, and he mentioned at the time that they had no trees available in 2022. It was all signed up. Everything was accounted for. Steve Pitt has recently reached out in the past couple of weeks to say that he's attained more trees he's obtained more trees, and that he could do that entire job that I had basically told him about via email for $1,700. And he also mentioned that there's a company in Kingston, a green company in Kingston, kind of a green consultant company that could help the township with signing up for whatever carbon credits that we would need or be interested in moving forward. That's not something, the carbon credit thing is not something that's got to be done very soon, because once you plant the tree, like I said, you're about 10 years from really getting any money for what you're growing, because it just takes that long for the tree to take a hold and get going. So anyways, yeah. So, I mean, this company that I'd originally written the report about probably is more expensive and probably not a direction we would go with. In terms of the map, Kevin, basically I'm proposing to plant trees in basically every farm field available that's not being used by Hyperborea for their festivals. I could bring a map to a next council meeting, that is for sure.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be all laid out. It's just, I'm not familiar with the area, I guess. So that's why I asked, Jake. I'm not all that familiar with that area down in there. So, but yeah. Okay.
Wendy, you were next.
Yes. I was just wondering, Jake, you used the term in every farm field. Are these fields where you're planning to plant the trees, are they good for farming, like aside from tree farming? Do you see any conflict with us putting these trees in here when we could be, renting it out to a farmer again or using it for other purposes?
Through your worship, yeah, yes, Councilor Land. I mean, this is something that council needs to discuss. Like, I'm kind of making an economic argument that I think we may be more profitable, farming trees via carbon credits off some of this, what I would call marginal thin soiled land. Don't think it's land, and there isn't a lot of land there, and there's small fields that are kind of spread out. I mean, as I wrote in my report, we're making $1,200 a year cutting hay off of this, so it's not really a money maker as it stands. So that was kind of the argument that I was trying to make in the report.
Go ahead, Doug.
Jake, planting trees is a good thing as far as I'm concerned, as long as everything is planned well and does well. I think we're short a little bit of information, and I guess I'm going to delve into my own personal background in this. I know my son-in-law planted a number of acres of trees through some organization. They come for 3 years, monitored the trees, and for the success rate, because there was a warranty on the trees. On the 4th year, 90% of the trees died, and the warranty was null after 3 years. So I'm kind of on that line. I'd like to make sure that our soil and fields and that are suitable and will grow, because trees are good for the environment, but they're no good if they all die off. And there is some pretty shallow land there. I don't know, even John could maybe comment on what he thinks about the class of land. Is it 5 or it's pretty thin back in northeast of that dump. It's places back there that's almost rock on top of the ground. Yeah. I'd just like some more information on that. Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, it's I haven't walked it, Doug, and stuck a shovel in it, but I imagine there's lots of places where there's less than a foot of soil, and I'm sure Jake's well aware of that. If we go ahead with this, it would probably be best, assuming that Steve Pitt could do the planting under that Forest Ontario 50 million tree program, that he would do some pre-evaluation as to which sites had the best chance and which would be a waste of time. And it's a gamble, eh? I know, Doug, I used to run different tree planting programs for the Conservation Authority and for another program in the 80s and 90s. And I've seen trees that were planted in fairly decent soil all die the next year because it just wouldn't rain. And other areas I've planted where there's like, 18 inches of soil and we get 3 years of good growing, and it's got the roots deep enough that they will survive a few droughts after that. So it's always a crapshoot. But I think in consultation with Steve Pitt, who's certainly a very experienced tree person, that it's the best thing to do with that land. As Jake points out, we aren't going to make a killing on it, renting it out for hay. And the world needs all the carbon sequestration it can get at this point. So I think this is probably the best use of the land, regardless of the economic benefit that it may eventually accrue to the township. So I don't have my agenda in front of me. Jake, were you looking for a motion just to pursue this or what?
Good. I think Doug or John, before I go further, I think Sherry had her hand up there a little bit.
Yeah,
back.
sure. Yeah. I'll move whatever it is anyway.
Okay. Sherry, did you have your hand up there a while ago?
Yeah, I just wanted to
I thought so,
mention,
sorry.
that on January 11th, there was a presentation by the Friends of the Napanee River and Friends of the Salmon River on the 50 Million Trees program. And I would encourage anyone to find that on YouTube, or maybe it's on their Facebook pages, I'm not sure, but it's really interesting in case anyone's interested for their own land. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. I guess I'm gonna step in here first for a second. Everybody else has to speak. I don't know. I look around the country and it's agricultural land, and I have land like that too that's not a lot of soil and whatnot, and they're not making any more agricultural land. And I look around and I see people taking fence rows out to gain land. It might be better land than that there, but I have an issue with planting trees on agricultural land just because we can't rent it out. Once the tree grows on there, it'll never go back to that. And I've been up, back not too long ago my son lived up by Blessington, and they were taking big fields out and, and old fences and that to create land to grow food. So anyway, I have a little problem with this, but that's just my opinion. I just thought I would speak out that, tell you what I think of it. And anyway, we'll leave that. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, well, I think we need a little more information, and I don't, as Jake alluded to it there, he's just recently got information from Steve Pitt, so maybe he needs to go back and reevaluate and put together a little more of a package. And in all honesty, I mean, maybe I know with the snow on the ground now, it's impossible to tell the depth of the soil, but I'm not against planting trees where they're going to be successful on it. I'm like you, if it's good land, then I could maybe think of some other use for it. But I just like to see a little more information. I think planting trees is good, as John said. We need carbon sequestration, and but just I'd like to understand the program a little more and what Steve can do for us, guarantee, that sort of stuff. Maybe a map. And we also let's talk about the lease too. We got to talk about what we're going to do with a lease, whether we're going to, how we would renew it or what we would renew it. So maybe this should be held for another meeting.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you. Through you, Eric, to Jake. What's the timeline here, Jake? I don't mind waiting until another meeting if we need more information. How soon does Steve need a commitment?
Yeah, through you, thank you for the question, Deputy Reeve Wise. I don't think that Steve's in that big of a hurry right now. I think we can slow it down. The other company I was dealing with was in a hurry to sign up all of their trees for this year. I think that's kind of what their main goal is. But I definitely think that I'll reach out to Steve if that's the way that council wants to go, and get more information. And I mean, like Councillor Davison said, it's going to be a tough time of year, and maybe go out and kind of do some test holes. But I can definitely reach out to Steve and try to get some more information, and bring a map back to council and talk to them about where we'd want to plant these trees.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think a little reconnaissance is in order. I mean, it's true, some of this is pretty marginal. And I don't think it's any great agricultural loss to address your concern, Eric. You know what that land's like back there.
Yeah.
But if there's time in the spring, that Steve could go and really make a good estimate of what land could be planted and what land couldn't, rather than just sticking them in all the available land and saying, oh, well, there's 5 acres died off, too bad. That's just a waste. So yeah, see what he says and come back to us. I would say at this point, Jake, but I certainly support it in principle. And Sherry's right; it's a great program. I've had 3,000 trees planted on my acreage on pasture land that was rough, and I'm out of cattle. And I thought that probably from the environmental standpoint, it was better to just establish a forest. They're great people to work with, and the survival rate, I've been very fortunate. It's been pretty good. So. I'll just look forward to having this discussion again and seeing if we can get something going for this year.
Hey, Jake, so can you come back to the next meeting with a report on this and we'll move forward at some point? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to receive the report tonight then, and then we'll put it after the next meeting. Moved by Kevin, second by Wenda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, item for consideration. I'm talking to Brian today, and we got to schedule up some budget meetings. And Brian, you want to come on because of the government thing here at the end of the month. Pick some dates, and hopefully we can get all in the room together.
Your worship, as of January 31st, it's anticipated that the meeting room capacity will be opened up to 50% capacity, which would accommodate us an in-person budget meeting, which would then be aired via Zoom, similar to an in-person council meeting. So what we're looking to do is to schedule our first budget meeting after January 31st. Our proposal just to council is to try to get a daytime meeting so that we're not, we don't have an exhausted council prior to the meeting, but we'll rely on council's availability for that.
So to anybody know any dates that have a concern or that it has other meetings?
We were looking something like next Wednesday, your worship, if that could be accommodated by council, Wednesday, Thursday. It fits with the county council schedule, is you don't meet until the following week, I believe.
We meet,
Second's fine with me.
we meet next Wednesday, I think, John. No, meet this Wednesday, sorry. Yeah.
You meet the 9th, your worship.
Okay, yeah. So what dates?
What's that date? That's the February 2nd?
Yep.
It is, yeah.
Naturally.
We won't be doing it over and over and over again on Groundhog Day, though.
No, I just I knew you were going to say that because that's the one day that I've got to be I've got to go to the hospital that day, Brian. So,
How about the 3rd? How about the
so I'm
3rd?
sort of out.
Sherry, you see your hand up there?
Well, the 3rd is we have a vaccination clinic in Newburgh, but not till later in the day. So I can try to, if you want to do that day, I can get that day off and do morning or something.
I can do the 3rd, but only in the afternoon.
Okay, well, why don't we go to, let's drop that date right out. Because some in the afternoon, some in the middle.
How about the 8th?
What day's that on?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. After
Sorry?
council. Tuesday after the council meeting. Council meeting's on the 7th.
Oh, the Tuesday. Okay, so that comes in. Okay, Tuesday.
Your worship, the other alternative is to make our next regular scheduled council meeting the actual budget meeting. Given that we've closed the gap, essentially, we could make that our budget meeting if that's preferred for availability, but I'm just not sure what council's schedules look like. We are hoping to do maybe a more in-depth review of our budget. But again, that's at the preference of our council. There's a number of projects and a number of financial detailed correspondence that we would like to share with council. And it's ideal that we have this meeting in, we were really hoping to get it next week. There's some other things that are triggering the week following that we would like to get clarified next week.
Is Thursday
Go ahead,
about?
John.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah. You sort of dismissed Thursday, Eric. I just got a morning appointment at 10. I mean,
okay.
You're not thinking of a full day meeting, Brian? I'm assuming we're talking like maybe 3 hours or something?
Yeah, nothing longer than that for sure, Deputy Revise.
So what's wrong with Thursday afternoon then?
Sherry said she couldn't make Thursday afternoon.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sherry. I
Well,
forgot. You've got the clinic.
I can. It doesn't start until 4, so like I could do like 11 to 2 or something. I don't know how long your appointment is, John.
How about
Is
the Friday?
Is Thursday the 3rd? Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not all that good for me neither.
Okay. What about Friday?
Maybe.
What about next Tuesday?
I just,
Yeah.
I'm sort of in limbo there for a couple
So
days.
you count your vote for the weekend pretty well.
Well, maybe not. I'm just saying.
Okay,
I
well, I
may
mean, we
not.
got
Well, if we can't all be there, we can't all be there. We got to get going on this. So what about Tuesday? What about the 1st?
I'm okay.
I think
Yeah.
I
I'm
can.
good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Kevin's
The
good.
Tuesday
Yep.
is the 1st. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
time?
Does anybody have any conflicts that day?
No.
Oh,
Not
What
If somebody,
time?
somebody has a preferred time, then they can we're available. All of the managers will be available during that time. It's
if
really
you've
the
got a
preference of
lot to
council.
present, why would we try to do it in a tight time frame? Why not give ourselves enough time frame to see it? Let's start at 9:30 in the morning and go till we're done, till we get through it.
Sure.
I
Sure,
mean,
that's fine.
the first round is the slowest one. It's the one where, Brian, you say you've got a lot to explain or to
Yeah.
cover with us, let's get through it. Then it'd be quicker after that, eh?
Yeah. We'll all be wide awake. And
Yeah, the biggest issue this year, Your Worship, is just strictly the number of projects and the proposed funding models that go with those. So that's the extensive difference between this year and say previous years, coupled with the election and a number of other processes going on.
Well, I'm trying to pick dates here. Could we start at 10 o'clock that day? Because I
Yep.
know I got a load of cattle going out that morning at 9 o'clock. I got help
That's
load them.
fine, Eric. I just threw 9:30 out to get it rolling.
Say 10 o'clock, is that okay?
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that
So-
way that'll just give me a little bit of leeway to get, if I'm not starting there without me, but this thing I gotta do.
So February 1st, that's a Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Okay.
Good.
And we're meeting at the hall?
That's correct. We'll
Okay,
meet at the Centerville Hall where it's capable of being recorded
Are you gonna
and broadcasted via Zoom.
send anything out before that? Or, I mean, because sometimes if you have a bit of time to go over a bit of it, or I don't know what your plans are.
Well,
Fair
my
enough.
plan is to get as much out as I can and even possibly release it as though it's part of an agenda the same way we would, so you'd have time to review it on the weekend. However, I might not have been expecting it to be quite so quick, meaning February 1st.
Okay.
And there still is some legwork for comments, etc. But I intend to get as much information out as I can in advance.
Okay, well,
Your
yeah.
Worship.
If not, we'll deal with it anyway that morning,
Yep.
Tuesday, 10 o'clock. Good
Yep.
enough. Yep. Kevin, do you have something to say here?
Is that open to the public, Brian?
It will be recorded via Zoom, Councillor Richmond. So it will not be a meeting that somebody can attend in person, but it will be something that will be live streamed via YouTube to be taken in by any member of the public. Yes.
Thank you. I just asked for
Okay.
people watching tonight.
There will be, Councillor Richmond, I suspect there will be a closed session portion of that meeting, as there are a number of other factors that may be for education purposes for council, or may require some financial decisions of identifiable individuals. So, but again, once we get that package completed, it'll be posted and broadcasted as such.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we don't need a motion for the meeting, do we?
No, Your Worship, I just wrote it in the minutes as to
Yeah,
when
right.
it's scheduled.
Okay, item for information, Stone Mills, Township article in the Business View magazine. Everybody get a look at that?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, the guy called me and I says, talk to the two guys over there because I didn't have that information. Go ahead, Doug.
It was an excellent article. In fact, I talked to Jason and Brian about this. I think we should put a link to it on our website. There was maybe a minor editing of a couple of words that might not, that maybe could be improved on, but I thought it was an excellent article to represent our township for people who don't live in the area. And I would like to see it put on the website with a link to it on the website.
Okay, everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. Okay, so we just have a motion to receive that, the report. Moved by Sherry, second by John. All in favor? Carried. Okay, any new business statements from members? It's cold
Oh,
out. We'll go John, then Kevin.
Yeah, just a question. I know that things are supposed to open up, I guess, as of midnight on the 31st. I was having a hard time figuring out what could open and what couldn't. Does that mean the arena can open again, Brian? Is that your understanding?
Yes, so we understand that the recreation facilities will be able to open at that time. However, capacity issues and league/organization associations have not necessarily made their intentions known as of yet, i.e. OMHA, some other associations. But yes, as of the 31st, we know that the junior hockey leagues and some of the senior loops are proposing to reopen. They'll have capacity limits and screenings attached, but we're in the process of putting the public notice out, or at least getting the fact-finding information for that notice, as we believe on January 31st at 12:01 a.m. that there is at least a semi-approval to resume activities.
Okay, Kevin, you're next.
Well, I was just going to ask Eric, are we going to have any discussion on the accessibility item that was on the agenda?
It's coming up here right in a minute.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
It's next.
Sorry,
Yep, it's
jumped
next.
ahead.
Anything, any more business from members? I guess none. So we will move on to the draft Stowe Mills accessibility plan 2022 to 2027. Who wants to go with that? Or Kevin, you got some questions?
Well, yeah, Eric, just a couple of things. I go to the dump every week or every other week, whatever it takes. And I'm a little concerned about the accessibility issues there, that there's no signs up for anybody that can't throw stuff in or climb the stairs or do certain things there. And I'm wondering, I don't see anything there that shows people that they can do other than climb the stairs or move into or haul stuff into a bin. I'm just wondering if we shouldn't do more there and have a real good look at that, because it is quite an issue. Just myself being at the wayside, I've seen people struggling. Now, mind you, they have been helped. I've seen that from the staff, which was very much appreciated. But there's people struggling there, and climbing those stairs for the plastics and such. It can be quite a struggle, and I think we need to do more. I think it's a place in the community where people, quite frankly, they have to go. And I think it's something that we really need to focus on and maybe have a separate area put out with actual signs on it saying that, you know, if you're having issues, put your garbage here and we'll throw it in later or something. I just think it's something that really needs to have a good hard look at. And I don't think we've done enough.
Yeah. All right, you taking some notes there, Brian?
Yeah, your worship. So typically what happens is we would plan an inspection with our accessibility committee, if feasible. So what they would do is they would essentially come out, do a site visit, and they'd make recommendations to our municipality as to any sort of proposed upgrades. We have spoke, the public works manager and myself, about getting a different design of bin. But I think this conversation Councillor Richmond and I had earlier, probably the first part of the winter, I think it was, wasn't it, Kevin?
Yeah,
it was around that. We talked about
right.
getting some different loadable bins that might work, and there's some, maybe some potential occupational health and safety issues with that. So we are investigating at what other options we could do there, but specifically with this on the agenda this evening is the actual plan. And so the plan is the entire municipality, the entire vision of accessibility. That's one part. That, the plan is the commitment. What Councillor Richmond's talking about is a specific issue, but what's on the agenda this evening, Your Worship, is is actually a plan that would go from 2022 to 2027 that would essentially have us working from this framework. Previously, the one that was on our records was 2012 to 2017. So we require an updated plan to have on our records. The group that it represents, the committee, so to speak, is actually is a county-wide program. It's operated by the county, which you know, your worship, and they have representatives with, at least one more than half of the group has to be of a visible minority of a disability. And so they have representation there. So they often review our projects, review our facilities, et cetera, make recommendations to our group. So the first thing I would do, given the time of the season, Councillor Richmond, is maybe ask that committee to plan a site visit and come back to us with recommendations. So that way we can get, at arm's length recommendations, so that we're not, worried about things like budget and all those other things. When we do them, this is a total operational review, and then we'll have those recommendations come back to council for consideration and any sort of budgetary costs with that as well.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, and I respect that, Brian, and it looks good. It's a good plan. I just don't see anything in there that's suggesting what I'm talking about. That I think, and you mentioned it, I think we need to put something in there and work towards that. Like you said, having them do the inspector, do something with it. I just think it's something that needs to be done months ago. I don't think we want to drag this on. I think we're going to end up in trouble. People are going to get hurt. I'm afraid of that. I see people struggling on those stairs and struggling with bags and such. I just think it's something that needs to be dealt with sooner than later. And I'd like to see it right in there that we set up and get started on this. There just doesn't seem to be anything there. I don't know. We have some new staff and such. Have they been trained or anything to in respect of helping people out that they see in need? Yeah, I just think it's a major importance. I know I've had people calling me about it as well, and I'm about 2 steps away from not being able to climb them stairs myself. So I think it is very important, and I think it's something that people have to do. And I think it's very important to the community that we work something out and make it visual, make so people know they can do this, rather than just go there and think that, well, I have to get it up them stairs. I have to do this. And I think it's of great importance before we get caught up in a lawsuit here, for one thing.
Okay, we'll go to Doug,
I'd like to see us deal with it.
Okay, go ahead, Doug, then we'll go to John.
Yeah, I hear what Kevin's saying, and unfortunately with the location, the ground situation where we are, we have to have something like stairs to get to the access to the top of the bins. I've been in locations where the bins were sunken down and you could had a railing and you threw over the railing. But I do know, I use the dumps regular, and I do know that our previous staff was excellent at helping people out, and I'm sure the new staff would be too, or if they want, maybe for the time being, and I'm all in favor of doing a review on it, but for the time being, maybe we just need to put a sign up. If you're unsure of your ability to climb the stairs, the attendant will load it for you, just leave it on the ground. Something simple, for those people who don't feel they can't climb the stairs at this time, just hang a sign around the bin. And I know these bags aren't heavy, but the stairs can be slippery in the wintertime, especially. So for people that are frail, they could have a different problem. Kevin's right, they could have a problem. But if we put a sign up, say, ask the attendant, they'll help you. I'm sure they would. For the time being, until we can review it, I think that would at least go a little ways to look after the problem.
Go ahead, John.
Doug said it.
Okay. I see Jeff come on the screen there a couple times. Did you just see what we're doing, or do you want to say something? Did you have some
I'm
comments?
good. Everything's been said.
Okay, no, good enough. Okay,
So
I guess with that there being done, so can we have a motion? Or go ahead, Brian.
Your worship, just for council's clarification, inside the document, you'll see that there's a number of initiatives that we have listed that we will attempt to do to remove barriers for accommodation perspectives. To accommodate Councillor Richmond's request will include specifically the landfill facilities, as improving those facilities to remove barriers for individuals with accommodation needs, which will accommodate from a policy perspective. And then, by discussion this evening, the manager of public works and the compliance coordinator and James Richmond can work with the site visit to determine if there's any sort of accommodation measures that can be made, whether it be signage or alternative disposal options.
Okay, anybody else on this? If not, I'm looking, go ahead, Kevin.
Motion to receive.
Motion received report. A second by Sherry. All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Okay, with that, we're going to go to the confirming bylaw. Confirmation bylaw for tonight's meeting. Moved by Wenda, second by Sherry. All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. John, Doug. All in favor? Carried. Good night, everybody, and stay